Look, I think one of the best things about being an entrepreneur in Puerto Rico is the people.
Welcome to episode 20 of the David Binkowski podcast. My guest today is Eduardo Padial. He is the operations director at Parallel18. If you're not sure what that is, I highly encourage you to check them out. They are a startup incubator here in Puerto Rico. They're funded by the Puerto Rico Science Research and Trust. Eduardo, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you for having me, David. Appreciate it.
I was very excited. I've known you now for a few years. I started emailing you, I think, 3 years ago, but I've known you for a few years now because of my involvement with P18. And I want people to get to know you first and foremost, but also hear all the awesome things that are going on at Parallel18. So let's get started. I want to ask you, how did you land in this role?
So that we can go long story short, but I can give you some context of where was I. So I joined Parallel18 on January of 2018, and this was around a few months after Hurricane Maria. And literally the opportunity came as a blessing. And I'm still consider myself lucky that I'm in this organization. And the way that I ended up in that position as a startup executive. I started as a member of the team where I'm the first one to respond to around half of the startups that attend the program. And the way that I ended up as a startup executive was that I came back to Puerto Rico after studying outside. I studied entrepreneurship and supply chain and business analytics. I wanted to come back to Puerto Rico. I studied at a bank for a few years, and then that entrepreneurial bug hit me, David. I'm sure that you know of it, and basically, just a few things went wrong. The massive economic impact that the hurricane left, but also some things in the landscape where I was when I built my business, and the opportunity of joining the Parallel team was there, and I took it, and the rest have been many blessings and hard work.
I've been firsthand recognize your hard work, the stuff that you're doing, and the growth that I've seen, and the organization of Parallel18 and all the things that are taking place have been just incredible. You mentioned entrepreneurship, and I want to talk to you about that, about being an entrepreneur in Puerto Rico. Like, there are people, I see it on Twitter. And by the way, if you don't follow Eduardo on Twitter, he's Padial Eduardo. So his name, first name, last name, but reversed on Twitter.
Like the Bond, James Bond type thing. Yeah, that's what I wanted to do.
But I put things out there to young Puerto Ricans who are in college or who are graduated or are still in high school, and they have no idea some of the stuff is taking place. So I'm happy to be an advocate. But these kids there's a lot of talent here, and so yeah, I'd like you to talk about the things you've seen as an entrepreneur trying to start up in Puerto Rico, and then what's the ecosystem like? There obviously this Parallel18, there are other incubators as well, but can you talk about the ecosystem and your experience of trying to start up here?
Yeah, so I think let's start with the perspective of a young entrepreneur and how it's like to be out there, right? And what resources are out there. And I think just to give you a bit of a high level, I truly believe that the road is set. It's not a roadmap. The resources are there. It's just we need to develop a strong storytelling so that there's more people that want to take the risk, and also that people that have the capabilities of providing capital also want to join and take in the risk. And I say risk because startups at the end of the day are of high risk, but there's resources available that help de-risk through learning, helping on that learning curve, providing the right people at the right time with their network, connections, and all sorts. Look, I think one of the best things about being an entrepreneur in Puerto Rico is the people. It's everyone can basically meet you by a third degree, and I see that as a positive, because at some way or form you're going to be able to reach towards a high executive in some place, or you're going to be able to meet someone that you need to know, so that you can better assess your MVP, better assess your value proposition and how to sell it. And those that want to help you will help, and encourage you, either by being a client or joining you and being part of that pilot. And I had that fortune when I did my first startup, which was a burger shop. And it was literally the person understood exactly what I was trying to do, which was making an app for them. And he literally took me under my wing saying, "Hey, no, we're going to do a Facebook Live. I'm going to sponsor it." The video reached like 300,000 views, a lot of downloads. And that gave me so much faith that I was on the right path, that clients become your fans. And I think the people of Puerto Rico and the culture of it really, really helps a lot. When you're going in those low lows, those high highs become way high, because you know that you have happy clients, but happy people with you. And now knowing that there are resources like Colmena 66, like Guayacán, like the Bravo Family Foundation, and like Parallel18 with their pre-accelerator and accelerator, it can really give you a sense of faith that if you are applying the right things at the right time, you can be able to move around and reach your goals as an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned this, and I've seen it firsthand. But you mentioned that the support network that's there, and I think one of the things that's been so we've done work. My company has done work with a lot of startups in San Francisco and New York, et cetera. And the camaraderie and the kind of having each other's back and sharing resources and things, it's unparalleled from what I've seen here. I give all the credit to you and to the rest of the folks at P18. P18 is funded through the Puerto Rican Science Research and Trust. Can you tell people a little bit more about what that is?
Of course. And let's say it one more time, the Puerto Rico Science, Technology, and Research Trust, or as we like to call it, the Trust, or el Comité de Ciencia, Tecnología y Investigación de Puerto Rico. That is an amazing nonprofit organization. It's the parent organization for Parallel18. Essentially, it's been growing at an exponential rate. With the helm of Lucy Crespo as the CEO, and it's been amazing to see that it started just a few years back with around 20 people. I believe I was the employee number 50, and now they're at 240 plus. And it's amazing to see that Parallel18 was probably the second most recognized program, and now you have 18. No pun intended to P18, by the way. It's 18 programs, and it's amazing because you see now a picture of a focus on entrepreneurship, research and development, and health. And what that allows, David, is that we now have the tools to develop innovative solutions with an incredible talent here. And what we've been able to do is that, for example, we have an amazing guy called Juan Figueroa, who basically helps startups and companies be able to apply to SBIR, which is basically provide innovations for small businesses. And basically, it's a program that it's going to give you, and it's hard work, but it can give you around $1.2 million, and the trust can match up to $300,000. And it's to give you the opportunity to work with deep tech or research and development that is probably not viable via investments or because it's a high risk. And from there, we've been able to have startups from outside of Puerto Rico and in Puerto Rico to apply and get money that helps them then go and commercialize. And we also been seeing things in regards to agriculture and artificial intelligence, and especially now through the pandemic, being able to help with the, Parallel18's startups are involved with the Public Health Trust. So we're seeing that it's not just about having startups, it's about being able to make that engagement with our science-based programs. And I think that's very encouraging that we want to be at the forefront of innovation. And that's the main thing that the trust does. Making Puerto Rico a innovation hub in a global sense. And that aligns with our mission at Parallel18, which is making Puerto Rico an innovation hub with underrepresented founders. So it's one of the things that we're very proud of. And the trust, it's a nonprofit 501c, I believe it's called, the acronym for that. Essentially we have funding from local government, but also the federal government, revenue streams that have been created, donations, partnerships. So we have a mix of everything as a nonprofit led by Lucy.
It's incredible. The part for me that I've seen this firsthand because I get to mentor and meet with people, and I leave my DMs open. Like I want to hear everybody's ideas, what they're working on, and how I can help. But the fact that there's so many opportunities here, it's quite incredible. And we know the level of talent that exists here. And so for me, it's trying to, and again, not everybody can be an entrepreneur or wants to be an entrepreneur, and that's totally fine. But I think having that avenue available to them to help people not just build their idea here, but then grow it here and then export it to the world is absolutely an incredible opportunity. Recently, I got to watch the pre-18 Gen 3 demo event, and that was just a few weeks ago. And the level of thinking and the level of ideas and finding that where's the gap? And that to me is always a sign of, it's fine to be, I hate to say a copycat company because, Apple's copycat company. So it's not a bad thing. You can still make money as a copycat company. But what you want to do is, learn the space really well, master your products or your service or whatever it is you're putting out there. And then, with branding and marketing, getting it out there. So it's not bad to say, I see something else and I bet I can do it better. In fact, that's what most businesses are based on. But the ideas and the things that I saw coming out of the pre-18 event were fantastic. I was so impressed and so happy. I started reaching out to people now. I just started talking with them and seeing how, what's the next step that you need to take and how can I help you? Can you talk about what it takes to put something like that together? And what is the pre-18, the process for that? Because it's different than, I didn't hear from most of these companies at all. They were kind of all working on their stuff. Can you tell me about that process of how did pre-18 come together and then how did this last one go?
Yeah, in order to do this, it takes a team that is highly motivated to make an impact. We're very mission driven. Every single member has a different perspective towards that mission. And just being able to be creative, right? Also walking the talk of innovation. It's something that it makes us stronger every single day, and being able to bounce ideas off each other. But also those ideas need to break the status quo from what we did maybe 6 months ago. So, being able to always innovate and create a new version on top of each other is key on all of this. And one of the things that we did as a to reach to pre-18 was essentially we saw the opportunity, right, of after the Hurricane Maria our main focus at the moment was having an accelerator program. For those that don't know about pre-18, it's essentially an accelerator program that startups that have something innovative, that have space in the market, have a strong team, but already have sales or already have a good base of users, right? And for us, usually we have companies come from LATAM, from United States, from Europe, from India. And we want the Puerto Rican startups to compete with a very exclusive filter that we have. It's a very tough filter. It's a very tough, process where we have over 100 judges that go through the evaluation of this selection process. And for that, we can't make excuses for the Puerto Rican startups. Knowing that a hurricane of this magnitude went through, we wanted them to create at that moment, we knew that we needed to execute on a program that helps make startups have an opportunity to restore the P18 program. It's one of those things that was always, there to build, but we carried the momentum to do it. So we've had 3 cohorts now, where essentially the pre-accelerator pre-18 is you have an MVP. You already have that prototype set. You already, from day one of the program, you can sell what you have. Doesn't matter what state or how embarrassing it could be. If you are able to sell it, then go. You're ready to apply to the program, right?
Yep.
And one of the things that, a lot of things that we do in these 12 weeks, David, is really challenging the entrepreneur about how are they valuing the opportunity that it's in front of them, right?
Yep.
And that doesn't just mean think bigger and go global. That means, what can I learn now that I'm attending the Puerto Rican ecosystem that I can apply later when scaling, right?
Yep.
And this is, something that I wish that at the end of my career, it can really be another type of definition, but island mentality. Island mentality can be regarded as selling coconuts, in a hammock, very chill. And for me, island mentality is another definition. Island mentality is that you already know that you're attending a small market, but it's a well-connected market. It's a well-connected network that allows you to really test out what you have. And you're forced to create a solution and a business model that is scalable. And with that framework in mind, that's what we, inculcate to our founders, to all of them of fall in love with the problem and not the solution. And it takes a village. I think at the end of the day, David, the Biden team does very well in creating and staying in touch with these founders. And then from there, the founders do an amazing job in taking advantage of the community that is in front of them.
Yep.
All this takes a village. And I'm very proud of the community that has been formed at Parallel18. And yeah, we can establish the voice. We can at some point lead. But if we want this to be sustainable, entrepreneurs need to lead the conversation. And Parallel18 then be the resource, be the platform, but not necessarily be the voice. We're very proud of what it's been evolving in these 3 cohorts from pre-18.
And that's a fantastic transition when you talk about community and support. There was recently Alumni Week through the 18 Alumni Program. So Gen 1 through Gen 8 of companies who've already gone through this got together. Can you talk a little bit about how that came to be and how that went?
Yeah, so our alumni program is something that has been developing through time, because we don't want to just impact the most recent cohort. We want to help and impact every single startup, right? We don't want to. We're also very measure based. We have an impact report that is available in our website, Parallel18.com, and we want to measure ourselves. And we can't just measure ourselves by the most recent cohort. We need to measure ourselves from the first startup that went through the program. And the alumni program was built on our strengths as an institution, which is, being good at connecting people at the right time, having good conversations based on the stage that they're at. And we know that the P18 program and the pre-18 program is going to fall short after, going through a lot of the growing pains after a lot of years, right? We have startups that already have 5, 6 years, 7 years in existence. The conversations that they need to continue to grow, the current P18 program is not going to provide. But the conversations that go after, that's where the alumni program can come in. So then being very strategic of, you as a founder should meet with these other founders. You should meet with these other mentors. You should be able to meet with other companies that we have from the corporate partners that we have in P18 Connect. It's really encouraging to see also the updates that we see. So essentially, it's providing the same resources. We've been able to bring last week the VP of platform, Big Commerce, the founder of a company that essentially built the first designs of Hulu and Run the Runway. And we also were able to have the former head of growth for Slack. So, bringing very mature conversations to founders that now have the stage to have, that type of talk or need or areas to cover that learning curve.
Mm-hmm. Saw something that had been taking place that came back recently that to me was vitally important. I think, again, this is just my experience of working with startups, is that predominantly they're men that run these companies. Mm-hmm. Especially when you start to look at like fields like engineering and a lot of the STEM stuff. It's a lot of men. And I thought that so there's a program called A Seat at the Table, and there was recently a panel about gender alliance and entrepreneurship, about how to be an ally to female founders. Can you talk about, obviously it's a massively important issue and topic to discuss. Can you talk about how that came to be and kind of where that, how that continues to evolve?
Yeah. So this came from an effort from a startup executive, Bettina Maestre, where she saw the opportunity of, again, Parallel18 essentially was to foster good conversations, good connections, good resources. And at the end of the day, we want to help underrepresented founders. But what does that mean, right? What context, what areas can we provide in that sense? And I think being transparent, right? And really fostering that conversation of how can women or any type of founder that is underrepresented, how does that feel, right? What's occurring now? What's the norm? How can we break that? What's the role in each one of us in the community to do so? And it's been very, very encouraging to see that the conversation has continually developed through time. And to see that it also reflects on our community now, of our values, of what are the main things to talk about, or the behaviors that we want to be instilled in our community. I think it's something very important, and to shed light into that is even more important, right? For those conversations to occur. And it's something that we're going to continue doing. And we're very proud that, through time, the rate of female-led founders has increased. In pre-18, in our last recent cohort, it was 45% of female-led founders. So we're bit by bit increasing that number, and it's very encouraging to do so. And David, at the end of the day, in order to foster diversity, we also need diversity in our team, which right now is also led by women as well, with a very strong mix. But also we have a diversity in our mentor network, and as well, something that we continue to work on is in the judging and selection process, right? If we want diverse startups, of underrepresented startups, we also need a diverse judging group, and that things are that we're working on. But the program per se of Seat at the Table sheds that light, right, of those pains that are occurring right now.
I can't stress or emphasize how important that is. I remember being at a meeting. It was more than 10 years ago. I was in New York City at a meeting, and for some reason I was brought in the company I worked for, we did work with a large consumer packaged goods company. And one of the brands was for tampons, which, you know, as a male, I'm not sure why I was in the room, but there would be a better place if it was run by women. So as someone who's working with, I've worked with so many startups, and again, you know, by no fault of their own, it's been mostly men. I am happy to see. I did notice that, quite frankly, what you said about the number of female founders and the number of women who are involved in these companies as part of Parallel 18 has grown, and it's getting to that equal representation level, which is where it needs to be, quite frankly. But that was amazing to see. I was, like I said, really happy to see that. And I think that's one of the things that's, again, I work with a lot of, I used to work with a lot of hardware startups. And just, there were times when my wife would make a suggestion as a co-founder of our company, and it was get dismissed. And we'd look at each other like, are you kidding me? And so I would send an email, the exact same language she used, and they would respond back and say, great idea, we're going to do it. And I'm like, this is a joke. This has to change. This has to change. So these types of initiatives are amazing. Again, having seen it firsthand, I know the importance of these, and I'm really happy that we're doing this. I want to talk to you about a couple of things going on at P18 that you can, of course, talk about. One of them is the Challenge to Innovate NASA edition for STEM students. So can you tell people what that's all about and how to come about?
I'll tell you first how I come about, because it really tells about the strength of our community. It came out from an intro made by Samantha Snabes. And she is the CEO of Re3D. It's a company that basically leads in terms of industrial 3D printers in the world. They have their headquarters in Houston, but also in San Juan. And they've been always in contact with us and with the trust. With different type of innovations. The team is amazing in a sense that they're very talented, Air Force, NASA, you name it. And there was an opportunity to connect with one of the NASA members, right? NASA employees. And from there, the idea on how to implement it started. And NASA and the Challenge to Innovate is a program that it really encourages students to go through the process of the entrepreneurial process, right? And I do this even through when I'm in Parallel 18. I want to be in that journey, at least I'm just thinking about it and how far can I carry it, right? I want to be very empathetic with our founders, because it's an awesome journey. It's an awesome thought process. Why not put it from early get-go with our students? And so we got this of basically doing a massive campaign and learning the great talent that we have here of recruiting STEM students, specifically engineers and bioengineers, to evaluate one out of 6 NASA patents and how can they commercialize it. And that's in 12 weeks. And even go through the prototyping of it. And they have, connections with engaging with the, with those that invented the patent. With also the connections that we have here in Puerto Rico with the IoT Center Engine 4, called Engine 4 in Bayamon, with our great tech transfer office in the trust, led by Dr. Gully. He's amazing in helping us go through this. And then our sort of executive, Laura Delgado, has been amazing leading the way in creating this program. And we've learned a lot. But the most amazing thing, David, again, is the energy from these students wanting to learn, wanting to really be challenged and go through this process, this entrepreneurial process with really complicated things. I went through a class just to understand the the math behind it or the tech behind it. And I felt like a first grader that went through a sixth grader's math class, totally confused and afraid. I felt like that. But these students were really encouraged, very happy, not nervous at all. A lot of head nodding and saying, yes, I got it. So good thing that there wasn't a pop quiz. But yeah, I think it's a step forward for the trust to demonstrate that there are capabilities, in these students to think entrepreneurially and work with deep tech.
Yeah, it's obviously it's an amazing opportunity. This is the type of thing that very few people around the world have a chance to do. And the fact that it's happening here makes it even better. These kids it wraps up on May 20th and they get to pitch their solutions and they get to win cash prizes ranging, I think $2,000 is the top prize.
Right.
So that's pretty amazing. And you said that came from Laura Delgado, right? As a startup executive at Parallel18. I want to make sure she gets the recognition here as well for that, because that is just, I mean, that's an amazing opportunity. They had that high school when we were in high school. Just imagine, this is just the amount of opportunities being created. It's something that is, I hate to say it, unparalleled.
And David, just to give also some resonance to you that is listening, it really brought us back to those struggles of you will build it and then people will come, right? I say more of building the playpen and then people will go and play.
Yep.
It really takes a lot of creativity, a lot of communication, a lot of storytelling and building that objective. And I think that also goes with any entrepreneur that is starting right now, right? You're going to hear a lot of no's, but you're going to also need to listen. What's the main value proposition objective that you want? And we just went through that with building this playpen with Challenge to Innovate.
Yep. And you have you have a program called P18 Connect in the Loop.
Yes.
Can you tell people what that is?
So P18 Connect is one of the key programs at Para18 that helps entrepreneurs that are participating in our either pre-18 or P18 program to meet with our corporate partners. And our corporate partners can go from the pharmaceutical companies, where pharma is basically one of the leading or basically the leading industry here in Puerto Rico, to the banks here in Puerto Rico, insurance companies, distribution, you name it. We have a corporate partner in that field. And, the feedback from entrepreneurs is, the $40,000 grant or the $20,000 grant is great, really caught my attention. But it's amazing that I'm able to better understand the clients or even have connections with potential clients and being able to build what I have. And the program, we had our last impact report and had a survey where we asked, from the P18 Connect program, how many of you were able to reach a deal? And 24% of them said we reached a deal. So being able to say that, 1/4 of the startups on average are having a deal through this program says a lot. Because from there, you can then have a better connectivity to Puerto Rico. You can have a better case study to develop on. And I think that's the main thing. A case study for entrepreneurs to sell to, but also a case study for those corporate partners to use to motivate their members to look at innovation as a way to move forward.
Absolutely. That's an amazing number, 24%. It was that high. So coming up in April is applications for Gen 9.
Correct.
That's the next cohort. So I'll be obviously telling everybody that I know and sharing a little place, but could you tell people what that process looks like and Are there things you're looking for in particular from this cohort? And then what are tips that you have for those who are accepted to have the maximum success?
Of course. So first of all, I'm very excited, and the team is excited for getting this application process ready. There's so much energy behind it that we're ready to hit the ground running and get the selection going. So those are you that is sharing this conversation. We're agnostic in solution and industry. So what that means is if you already have a good base of users or you have paying clients, you have some sort of traction. And if you have a solution that you believe is innovative, that there is space in the market, that your market positioning allows you to grow on, and you believe that you have the right team, and that Puerto Rico can help you scale and grow, this is the program for you to apply. The selection process is we have first we have the just a small step to make sure that they're going through the requirements that are set in the terms and conditions. After that, it's basically judges that are outside of the piloting team. So we have 100 judges that evaluate these applications, and then the top startups get evaluated from our selection board. And the selection board has the responsibility of studying this, really understanding. We have a diverse, a diverse selection board, so that we have different perspectives into this. And at the end, we want to have the capability of selecting up to 40 startups in our cohort. And usually, those that get the invitation will arrive by, very early July, late June. And then they'll have to report to the program in August. And it's a 5-month program that goes from August to December. Going with the encouragement of how to have the best application is having others read it for you, is one of the key things, because there's 3 things that you want to make sure that are well highlighted. First, that the video that you need to submit makes sense. And then 2 things, that the value proposition is clear, that people understand why are you unique, why are you the right team, and why what you're selling is going to go and scale and grow. And the third thing is to make sure that you don't use language that can be thought of that can trick people. Make sure that you have a clear understanding of the traction that you're establishing. Make sure that you have a clear understanding of why you're the right team, a clear understanding of why you have the right product. So I think those 3 things can if you believe that you have the right solution and attending a very big problem, then you have a shot to get into the program.
Yeah, it's so important that I think one of the things that's cool is I see these companies once they've already been selected. So I appreciate that you give that advice of how they can, put their best foot forward. But obviously, having a use case and showing that yes, we're already making some money. Then it's just a matter of how do we scale this thing and what have you. I'll share a link to the form for everyone listening. If you're interested in applying, I'll include a link in the podcast description so you can go and apply. And I love the fact that there's a giant whale on the application homepage. The west side here, we're getting visited by them now. So fantastic move.
Yeah, that link is going to help you have all the updates in regards to our application process.
Yeah.
So the link for the application will be available in our website on April 5th.
Yeah. So we've talked about kind of how things came to be. We've talked about all the success that's been out there. We've talked about how you can get involved and the different programs that are out there. But there are other ways people can get involved with P18 if they want to. Can you talk about different ways people can get involved if they're listening to this and they're excited and they're saying, I need to be a part of this?
Claro. Yeah. There's several ways. And at the end of the day, the Parallel team is very conscious of your time. Want to maximize and appreciate the time that you're putting to discover this community and to engage in it. And we're doing as much as possible to optimize. And David, our program is designed so we can go with the momentum, right, that the startup has and provide those on-time resources. So what I'm saying is that those that want to be part of our community, we're going to connect you with the proper founder at the right time so you can maximize and provide the best of help or help you. So there's several ways. First, you can write to Kobe at Parallel18.com, COBI@Parallel18.com. So you can be, for example, a Parallel18 mentor, or join our corporate partners program. If you are looking at or want to learn about investments and become an angel investor yourself or invest in one of our startups as well, we can help you with that. If you are very, very curious about the entrepreneurial world, again, write to us, COBI@Parallel18.com, and we'll connect you with the proper organization that can help you at the stage that you're at. There are opportunities. We want to continue to increase our community. And we're very, very fortunate of the people that are behind us and that are willing to provide their time.
So just to recap, if you want to mentor, that's one way. If you want to invest, that's another. And a third way that I think is that if you're listening to this podcast and you know me, we're connected on LinkedIn, we've done business together, whatever. Maybe we haven't, but you found this podcast. You can take your company that's looking for innovation, that's sitting there watching the marketplace and trying to figure out what's our next move, or we need an idea, or we're looking for entrepreneurs to connect with to help us figure out our next opportunity. There's a program called P18 Connect.
Correct.
And it's through the Corporate Innovation School program. They will come to your company and they will help create innovation at your company. That if you are working at an established company and you're looking for innovation, I highly recommend reaching out so that you can start to look at the next 2 years, 5 years, 10 years of your company and figuring out your path from there.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So Eduardo, this has been fantastic. You have obviously a wealth of information about the program. And anyone who's interested, by the way, in getting more information on Parallel18, you can check out their website, connect with them on social, and reach out. It's Parallel18.com, but you can find all their stuff from there. But I highly recommend, if you are an entrepreneur, to apply, get involved, etc. Investors, corporations, etc. I'm seeing great things happen here. And I love letting other people know about those things and getting involved in those things. So Eduardo, thank you for coming on to help share everything that's happening at Parallel18.
David, I really appreciate your time and it just a great job that you're doing in mentoring our startups. So keep it up.
Absolutely. I'm happy to help. And like I say to everybody that says this, I say anything for Puerto Rico.